Hey everyone, so as promised, today is the day. I am going to start, I guess, the first of a few videos on the RSX, converting it to Kpro, installing the Kpro, showing what's different between the 0204 RSX and the 0506 RSX and what's different when you install a Kpro on one of these newer ones. There's a few differences, like you have to switch the O2 sensor and run a conversion harness, and I'll go into all of that at the shop. But first things first, I gotta plug the battery back in and see if the battery's still good and if she starts. And then luckily there's not too much snow today, but this is about all I have to deal with, so not a big deal. But I guess let's get this thing started. Okay, so battery hooked up. Let's see if she starts. She's been sitting for a few months now, I think. Perfect, no problems at all. All right, let's get to the shop. Okay, so not off to a good start. I am stuck in a little bit of snow blocking my garage. Summer tires for the lose. Let's see if I can get out of this. I think I'm gonna need some wood or something.
Okay, but I don't want to be in your video.
I'll cut you out, don't worry.
Thank you.
Well, that was a pain. Anyways, so hopefully the rest of the day goes better. Let's get to the shop. Hey everyone, so finally made it to the shop, and I have the RSX here, and I have my new Kpro, and the plan is to install it today. Show you the intricacies. It's a little bit different than a normal Kpro install because this is a Kpro meant for 0506 cars. So there's a couple little things that are different. For example, it has a conversion harness to convert the wiring because the wiring is different. And also I need to install an 02 to 04 RSX Type S or base or whatever O2 sensor, because the 0506 RSX O2 sensor is not compatible with the Kpro. So I'm going to take care of that, get the Kpro installed into the RSX, get it up and running. I think I will install their base map first, and then maybe just do a pull with their base map to show you how close it is. And then from there, depending how it goes, I will either continue tuning on their base map, or I have a whole bunch of base maps. I've done tons of tunes for with Kpro and K24, so I might use one of those. We'll see, but I'll take you through the steps of tuning this with Kpro. So let's get started. Okay, with the car up in the air, I have removed the old O2 sensor, which was over here. I got my new 0204 RSX O2 sensor. I put a bit of anti-seize on it, and I'm gonna stick it in and thread it in. And yeah, I'll tighten it up, hook it up. It plugs right into the original spot, and that's it for down here. And then I can move up top. Then we'll get started. Okay, so I've got the O2 sensor taken care of now. The ECU is plugged in through the conversion harness and into the car. I have the K Manager software loaded up. I've registered it. I won't show you that. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, you just hit register. You bring up the Kpro tab and go to registered user, enter in your details, make sure you have internet, and then you're all set up. So right now I have everything looks good. Got the check marks and everything. And what I can do now is load up a base map. So I am going to try out this TSX base map that Hondadata provides. So now that I've opened up the TSX base map, I'm just going to go through everything. I don't need analog inputs. I don't need boost control. Closed loop I want to keep. I want to use the built-in wideband because I've added one. So that's a change. I'm going to disable the secondary O2 because it's there, but I'm not using it. Don't need to do anything with advanced closed loop just yet. Fuel compensation, it's fine. Fuel injector is fine. Fuel trim, don't need to do it. Shouldn't need to do anything with that. Idle control, it's fine for now. Everything should be good for now because it's pretty stock. I'm going to turn off a bunch of these things. I don't need any of them. This 05, because it's the TSX base map, TSX has the same speed sensor as the 0506 RSX, so it's already selected, but you would normally need to select the countershaft driven speed sensor. And multiplexer, keep as normal. Nitrous doesn't need any of that. Protection's fine. Rev limiter, keep as normal. Throttle we'll take care of in a second. So I think that's pretty much it. I can now, let's save this. So basically I'm just gonna save it, named it K24 base map for now. I'm going to upload this. So far so good. I'm going to key on, key off just for good measure, and start data logging and see if I have any error codes. So far so good. Let's start it up and see how it goes. So far it's good. Big thing will be make sure that the O2 sensor is working correctly, so let's wait for that to come online. That usually takes a little bit, but everything looks good so far. Yeah, and it's working. So everything looks good. I guess now I'm gonna strap down the car to the dyno and we'll do a couple pulls, and we'll see how good this TSX base map is. And then once we've done that, I'll start tuning it and see what we can get out of this. Okay, the RSX is all strapped down, ready to go. I am just basically letting it warm up. I want to get it to about 175 or higher, and then we'll do the first pull with the Hondadata TSX base map and see what it's like on this setup. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos on this car, this is my 2006 RSX Type S. I have swapped in a 2006 TSX K24 A2 engine, and I dyno tuned it on K-Tuner, and it made 227 horse and 171 or 72 torque with that setup. Engine wise, I haven't changed anything. It's still just intake, header, and exhaust. Stock injectors. It's got the stock VTEC cam gear for now. Basically, I want to see what we can get with this with the Kpro Setup, and from there I will do a whole bunch more videos with how-tos. So let's see how much it makes. So I did 2 pulls and not too bad. We got 205.4 horse, if you can see that. It's saying 184 torque. That is not actually accurate. I'll show you what's going on. So the dyno for some reason picked up a weird torque spike really down low and got this false peak torque reading. In reality, it is actually 164 torque and the 209 horse. If I bring up my tuned file, this one, when I tuned it, you can see it's picked up, I don't know, that's 152 to, so about, let's call it 10 foot-pounds and 10 torque everywhere. And then peak, it actually picked up a bunch more, so like 209 versus 227, I think. So not too bad. It's a little bit lean, so it is about 1 air-fuel ratio leaner than what I would like. So basically, I think now I will go through, clean it up, tune it, get the air-fuel ratios right, optimize the VTC and timing, and see what I can get with this setup all said and done with the Kpro. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so I'm ready to start tuning the Hondadata Kpro. I'll give you a few little tips and tricks that I do when I'm tuning these cars. If you're gonna be tuning on the street and just like touching things up, the best thing you can do is just touch up the fuel. Make sure that air-fuel ratios are safe and that you're not getting any knock. It's nearly impossible to tune ignition timing on the street, so it's probably best just to make sure it's safe and that you don't have any knock. But what you can do is make sure your air-fuel ratios are correct. And in order to do that, there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. But what I'll show you is some quick tips. So what I usually do is I take VTEC and I set it to a higher value, like 7,000, so that it won't go into VTEC, because I want to first tune all the low table maps, the non-VTEC maps first, and then once that's sorted out, then I can use that to extrapolate and build my VTEC fuel maps. So I will set VTEC high so that I don't accidentally go into it, and I'll try to stay below 6,000 just so I don't go into it. So that's one thing to do. And then also I will go into closed loop and I'll make sure the wideband's on, but I will set the trims to 0 so that there's no correction factor, because I want to see what the air-fuel ratios are without any correction. And if you can see right now, I've got it pretty close. This is the commanded value, this is the commanded value, and this is what it's at, and that's perfectly acceptable, because once you turn the trims back on, it'll fine-tune that for you. One thing I would normally do, or what I would recommend on the street, is make your life easier. And this may be controversial, but K-Series has a bunch of different maps. There is 6 maps for each 10 degrees of VTC. Technically, we're only going to be using 0, 10, 20, and 30 with a TSX engine, but a K20 would use all 6 maps. The thing to do would be to make all these the same, to make your life easier. So if you see, I'm scrolling through, and I've copied and pasted the fuel maps so they're all the same. Once I've done that, you make sure Edit All is on, so that if you make a change, let's just make a change here, we'll add Control J, we'll add 20%, and you see how it's made that change there. And if you scroll, Control plus and minus scrolls through the maps, and we're scrolling through, and it's all the same. This will make your life a lot easier, and a Control Z, get rid of that, undo that, and now they're all gone. So the reason why to do that is just to make your life easier. If you're doing this on the street and you want to fine-tune the fuel maps, that will make your life a lot easier. Otherwise, you'll get lost in all the maps and making all the fine adjustments. So once you've done that, you should set up Lambda Overlay. And if you have this off, that's fine. You don't need that, because we're not going to apply any closed loop trims because we have it off. But if you have it on and you want to do it, it just makes it more complicated. It'll be quicker if you have that off. Also turn off calculate for each cam angle because we've flattened all the maps. Make sure all these parameters are basically the same as what I got, and you should be good to go. So if you go up to view, fuel adjustment, or shift F5 will get you to this map. If we turn this back on, this is where we'll see how far off our maps are. I've done this in a video before, but I'll show you again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive, and I'm going to use my load control dyno to hold specific RPMs and fill in all these blanks, and that'll give me percentages as to how far off my fuel values are. And I will apply these fuel values to my map to get everything within the air fuel ratios that I want. So let's do that. So I basically put my dyno in diagnostic mode, and I can specify I want an engine RPM, and I'm going to specify 2000 RPM. And then it's not applied yet, so what I will do is drive it and get it up to speed. So I'll start driving, get into 4th gear, and then once I'm in 4th gear, then I'll apply the load so that I can start filling in those maps. So 4th gear, apply it, dyno holds the engine at 2000 RPM. And I gotta make sure I'm on 0 map, otherwise I won't be able to see anything, and it already has filled out some stuff and I want to clear that, so I'm going to use Control L to clear it, and we can see I'm about 5% off, which is commanded value versus actual air fuel ratio. And I'm just going to move up, and this will tell me how far I'm off. Also watch for knock to make sure there's no knock. So full throttle, and now I have some percentages to work with, and this is how far off I am. I need to take out a bunch of fuel because it's too rich. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to apply a change of 5%, minus 5%. And because it's not real-time programming, I have to upload this change, and a trick is that you can sometimes get away with is if you rev up the engine and then hit the upload while the engine's decelling, you can quickly flash the Kpro. So I made the change, everything's good. I didn't have to restart the car. Otherwise, you'd have to stop the car, turn it back on, upload, then start it again. So I'm going to clear the map and start over again. So apply 2500 RPM. Dyno's holding engine at 2500 RPM. I'm going to Control L to clear it. And I'm going to start filling in these values. Looks like I need 5%, 3%, 0. This is good. This is a bit too rich. But it's actually pretty good. Not too far off. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go up 1000 RPM now. 3500 RPM. Fill this in. This is much leaner, you'll see. So it needs more fuel. I'm going to have to add fuel here. Pretty close there. So I have some values to add. It looks like need a little bit more fuel here. These are pretty close. Need to take out a bit of fuel here. So let's do that. Let's do some adjustments. We're going to take out, I don't want to take out the full amount. I'm going to take out 5% here. to add 5% here. And we'll upload this. I'm going to clear it, Control L, and we'll see how we're doing. So I've fully tuned the map. It looks pretty good, and that gets me pretty close with the fuel maps. What I have to do now is start doing some sweeps to figure out what the best VTC angles are. Right now, what do I have? I have basically just 10 degrees of VTC. That's probably too low, so I'm going to do a sweep or a pull at this, measure it, and then I'll go up in 5-degree increments and record it and see what those values are, and yeah, and then show you the results. Okay, so I've done all the fine tuning for VTC and fuel in the low maps. So what I would normally do is basically take this fuel map, and I will show you at the end of this, but basically it looks like the best point for VTEC is 4,600 RPM, maybe lower, but I'm going to use, so basically I want to take this low speed fuel map and copy it from about 35 or 4,000 and grab basically a few rows, copy it, and then paste it into the matching rows in the VTEC portion. So 35, and I copied I think 6 of them, paste, and that will give me my starting point. And then from there I can just extrapolate it, and then once we start doing some sweeps in VTEC, I can figure out how far off we are there. So basically what I do is create the non-VTEC map and then use that as my starting point for VTEC. So hope that helps. And basically I'm just going to continue tuning this, and at the end I will show you all the differences what VTC has made, and yeah, and we'll see what the final results are. Okay, so all said and done, I was actually able to eke out a bit more power. And so last time it was here, the car made 227, and it wasn't as cold as it is today, but today I was able to eke out 236.6 with a bit more fine tune. But yeah, this torque number is wrong. I'll show you what the real torque number is. The issue is down low, sometimes the dyno creates this weird wiggle and it creates like a false peak. But torque is basically the same as it was before, 173, but peak horse now, 236. Now, this was what I call a cool down run. It's a bit artificial, so what I do is, while I'm tuning it, I don't turn the car off. I keep it consistent, so it's always at like consistent operating temperature, the intake manifold hot and all that stuff, so it's worst case scenario. To get the absolute most power at the end, a little trick is shut off the car, cool it right down, cool down the intake manifold, put a fan on it, and it'll make a little bit more power. So this cold, let's call it a cold run, compared to the heat-soaked run, is a little bit different. So it makes a little bit more power when it's truly cooled down. But what it did make when it was heat-soaked was not far off. It was 233 versus 236. So 3 horsepower extra just from like completely cooling it down. It's a little trick to get a little bit more on the dynograph, but ultimately this is technically 233 wheel horsepower and 172 torque. So same torque as last time with the K-Tuner, just a little bit more horsepower up top this time around. It could all be because it's colder now, or it seems to like the Kpro and the settings. So yeah, so final results, let's call it 233 and 172. Okay, so one thing I would like to show is the difference between last time and this time. It was a little bit easier to find the power with the Kpro, and I think that's partially why it's making a bit more power. It's also colder, so it could just be that, but ultimately it did end up making more this time around. And this is heat soak to heat soak. I didn't do any cool down runs or on either one of these. So before 227 and now 233. Torque is basically the same, a little bit different. This time around with Kpro, the entire map VTC wise, the best results were with 25 degrees VTC. Anything less, it lost a little bit, and it didn't really make much of a difference, so I just left the table at 25. That keeps the cam gear from moving, and it just makes the power band more consistent. So but yeah, that's it for today. So this is the first in a series of videos for my RSX and Kpro. I have a few more that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the how to crackle tune as soon as I get a chance to do that, and a lot of people have been asking how to do two-step, so I'll do a video on that as well. So stay tuned. Hope you guys like the video. If you do, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.